I don't think the issue is really how many teachers we have. We have X pupils, or how long the school will stay open with a minimum number of pupils. I think the real issue is why pupils are leaving the school. That's the real issue, and what are we going to do about it? I think everything else will flow from that decision.
The other question I'd like to ask is, as it stands today, how many kids are we looking at being enrolled on the 1st of September 2017 if nothing changes?
I don't know if anybody here is in a position to answer that. I certainly don't have the answer to that.
I can give some information if you wish.
By all means, yeah.
Following this morning's board,
Just take
Jason notes.
Thank you.
Parents and everything on the board. Following the board meeting this morning, the numbers are yet to be confirmed because on the 5th of April there was 19 pupils enrolled confirmed as going. Since then, there's been...
These are 19 new junior infants, is that it?
No, 19 in total.
Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon.
19 in total.
Yeah.
And since then, there hasn't been a complete confirmation of what pupils are leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some said they're leaving, some haven't confirmed they're leaving. I believe the number is somewhere between 5 and 6 confirmed, but there is a certain amount still out there that if you have to confirm their status. Mm-hmm. Some people said that to the principal, that was confirmed at this morning's board meeting, that it could be the 1st of September when they confirm. Mm-hmm. And the door remains open in Brannockstown until then and beyond. Mm-hmm. I don't think that an actual definitive number can be given, and that's on the best information provided to date. If I use.
There's not much comfort, but that's true of every school. Unless and until they actually turn up on the 1st of September, you can never count your chickens, really.
Well, one of the dangers is, again, maybe we'll address Tony's question in a minute, but one of the dangers is that certainly just looking back, if I was a parent in the school, and let's say that I was happy with the school and I didn't have any quibbles with anybody or anything or whatever, and that would be generally true for my situation with my two boys, my experience. But if I was sitting there looking to say, jeepers, there's an awful chance that the school mightn't be open next September, or there might only be 8 kids in it and 1 teacher.
And my name is Gerry O'Donoghue. We've had 3 children who just finished in 6th class. Lucy's just finished in 6th class yesterday. We had a lovely graduation ceremony, and I said to some of the parents afterwards, to me it was just the essence of Brannockstown. Small number of children, everybody united in one classroom, beautiful sunshine outside. Other members of the community in joining us, and we've always had that. And then outside, the kids playing and kicking the ball into Mackey's, and all those sort of things that you just go, God, you can't let this disappear. Just to say to Ian, from my own experience, I'm a graduate of a 4 class 1 teacher system, in that I went to school in Halverstown, and I would have gone through that, as have lots of the rest of us. And one of the things I always loved about the kids coming through here is that there was a great cross-age group with the kids, that the 2nd class knew the junior infants, and the 6th class took care of the 2nd class, and there was always that unity among the kids, that they didn't, that the 6th class kids, they were older and they were grown up and ready to go, but they weren't that far away from the 3rd class and the 2nd class and the 1st class. I only became aware of the crisis actually on Friday night when the kids told me, and I was just so upset over it. And I think one of the other issues that really upsets me is that the public funds that have been used in building that beautiful school, that in our times of recession and not wasting public money, that it is imperative that money is not wasted. Though our taxes have paid and put that building there, and I really strongly feel that it would be a disgrace for it to be left derelict. Because that's what will happen. The windows will get broken, it will get wrecked. So I'm coming late to the discussion, and as I say, my children are unaffected because my youngest is going into 1st year. Just in terms of you trying to get opinion, because we know that a lot of people here in the room have opinion on it. And to go back to the gentleman over here, and I'm sorry I don't know your first name, but I think in terms of talking about the future of the school, what Ian says is really important. The most important message to get out is this school isn't going to be closed out of our hands. But people in this room have questions about management, they have questions about Now, I'm hesitating to say, but I mean the education, and I mean that broadly. I have had no criticisms of it, and I have had no problems with either of those pieces. But it would be helpful for us if people had those views that we should, as friends in a community, talk about it. With respect to the people involved, if we could have the courage to speak and to talk about that. I don't have things to say because I haven't had problems, but I know other people have. And I think it's important that we feel comfortable that we can say these things so that we can move us forward.
For Desmond Courtney, school opened in 1884. Probably some of the kids had to walk to school in their bare feet. Now, we thank God they don't have to do that. There's something desperately wrong with educated people like us, financially most of us fairly okay, are sitting here discussing a small little school in an affluent area, in a beautiful location. There's something seriously wrong. Why we're getting to this stage, where we're sitting here discussing a beautiful school, location, there's something seriously wrong. We've got the best stud farms in the world around us, we've the best amenities in the world, and we're sitting here discussing closing a small little school opened in 1884. There's something wrong. And we're all educated, we're all human beings, but our little children can't go to the school because there's something seriously wrong. Financially, management-wise, whatever. That's reality. I have a business in London, around New York, whatever. If it was run like that, gone. I would get to the root of why it is, and I'd sort it out. That's the only way, because it's not going to go away.
Just before we put Pat.
Gerry, Pat. My grandfather I'm here tonight. I went to school there. I put 3 kids through the school there, and I found it brilliant. But there seems to be a problem that I don't know of. I live next door to it nearly. I don't know what the problem is. But what I have a fear of is that the people are going to leave this meeting tonight and get nothing from it. Right. And it'll just die.
I would you, yeah.
And there has to be some avenue we must walk up along to get the answers. We have to do it.
Management team or something.
We have to do something.
Set up a team outside the management of the school and let them sort of it.
I don't know what the problem is. I haven't a clue. But I'm hearing that people are leaving, and I find this distressing. Because I love the area. I went to school with all my family, my brothers all went there. I think it's a brilliant place. And it's got great facilities, a lot better than we ever had. And I think it's a shame to let it die.
It's Gerry. I was going really. Sorry I was late. I was coming straight down from the Dáil, and I'm mindful, even though it's late, I'm here an hour now. So we're kind of heading for 10:30, and there's probably a point where we need to come to a resolution as to how this meeting ends and how we face into tomorrow and the next few days. And since my phone literally started hopping last week after the meeting here, I've been in touch with probably all sides to try and get a handle on where things are at. Including the Patron's Office, who have been very facilitating, and the Department of Education. I've been in touch with school staff and parents and former parents and members of the community. And I would say this is an absolutely dreadful situation for everyone to be in, and the emotion here in the room is very understandable because people are very passionate about their community and they're very passionate about what is an integral part of that community, which is the school, that either people are here and have had grandparents set it up and put their own children through it and generations before and after, or else people, young families, have the expectation of sending their children to the school here. And it's an absolutely dreadful situation to be in. And we've heard people give reasons, and there's no doubt that there seems to have been some issue, definitely around communication, as to how issues were dealt with in the past. And when I say communication, I also mean that maybe people didn't realise there are ways to verbalise that up the line that obviously wasn't done as well, beyond where they were saying it to. And I think there's probably been mistakes made that when community representation went away from the board, it wasn't replaced. And again, those concerns were raised at that time weren't fed up the line, so that a lot of people like Monsignor Dan, department officials, weren't really aware of this being the issue was, and some would say that's a failing of the system and maybe that should have been the case. But that in some ways is all history now. And what we have at present, I can't help but make the analogy, it's a horrible analogy, but it's kind of like a run in the bank. Is that everybody goes to take out their money at the one time because they're just trying to protect their money and do it with a natural instinct. But everybody runs, and in doing so, the people that actually run to take their money out of the bank are the ones that cause the collapse of the bank, even though the problems weren't there making necessarily. And that's a horrible thing to put on anybody that has a child in the school or that potentially has a child coming. It's a horrible situation.
Very, very, very unfair.
Does that mean
to try and guilt us parents?
No. I'm not. I'm saying it from an outsider view as to how I see this thing has developed into now. Because it has been a very rapid descent down over the last couple of years. And I'm not saying that that's equally as much as any parent that's been involved in the last couple of years. I'm not saying that any parent that's in the room or to anybody that's considering that. But the point I'm trying to get to is that we can talk about where we're at, how it's got to this point. But ultimately we have to talk about how we face into the summer and how we try and get to September. And there are two parts of that. And talking about the liaison committee to me is very important. Because if there is to be a future for the school, then that has to see an improvement in the communications. It has to see the issues that people have addressed and a forum for them to feel that they will be addressed in the proper channels. And definitely, in some ways, a large public meeting where people say what their individual grievances are isn't exactly the appropriate forum. But because things have got to such a critical point, it's necessary to have this meeting, to have an open discussion about, do we want to try and save the school? Is it possible to save the school? So let's try and set up that liaison committee with my suggestion, that we have an appropriate forum where people air their grievances and that we ensure, and the powers that be at a higher level ensure that they're listened to and taken on board. And then we have a chat about, really, for that process to have the time to kick in and improve what needs to be improved in the school, we also need to have children in the school, because a school building without children isn't a school, as far as I'm concerned. And that is a difficulty. And I absolutely take on board the individual concerns that parents have about too many of their children being one of a few small school community. But I would have a serious concern that if there are no children in the school in September, I just don't see how the school survives. So, to wrap up, I think the liaison committee with a very clear mandate from this meeting to communicate the issues and communicate back to people and parents involved who have concerns as to how they articulate them through the appropriate channels and appropriate process with a view to improving the situation, while looking to see that we try and keep enough kids in school in September as a starting point to build on.
From Declan, my own point of view, our interest is in the interest of the children of the school and the welfare of the community here. And the department said to me this evening, and they said it to me to say at the meeting again here this evening, that the school is not closing. And to stop using the word the school is closing, the school is not closing. The school is going to be open in September, and if 8 children enrol, the school will continue.
Thanks everybody for making this, I think, an important meeting. We'll be reading the Leinster leader in 100 years' time. But the Brannockstown School, which now has 28 teachers, but in 2017 there was a meeting when it looked like the school might be on the point of closing. Please God, this will be productive. I'm speaking as an outsider and as somebody who's involved in another school in the parish. You don't realise how highly regarded Brannockstown School is in the immediate area. There's an awful lot of goodwill from the community towards Brannockstown School. And while things, I suppose, have been circulated, certainly it's a school that I would be very, very proud to be associated with. You know, there are a lot of good things happening there. I think we should focus on that.
Well done,
so,
well done.
Thank you all, everybody.